Hi, how are you, Rojo? Welcome to the 11 Minutes Podcast. I'm Leo.
And I'm Gary. Thank you for joining us in our second episode, where we're going to talk about an urgent and painful issue: child trafficking.
Child trafficking is a very serious crime and a clear violation of human rights. According to the United States Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, it is defined as the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of children for the purpose of exploitation. This includes sexual exploitation, forced labor, forced beginning, forced begging, and forced marriage and other forms of abuse.
Globally, 1 in 3 detected traffic is a child. Girls are often sexually exploited, and boys are forced into physical work.
By region, sub-Saharan Africa is dominated by forced labor, while in Central America and the Caribbean, many adults and girls are victims of sexual exploitation. In South Asia, children are forced to marry or to work.
And in Mexico, according to the data of the National Information Center of the Executive Secretary of the National Public Security Center, more than 2,000 cases relate to human trafficking were registered until 2024, and of which 30% are minors.
In North City, Morelia, Michoacán, there are growing reports of networks that take advantage of poverty, lack of education, and family abandonment. Many times, the same family members are the ones who hand children over to criminal networks.
The causes are diverse: poverty, domestic violence, natural disaster, forced migration, and now even the use of social networks to decide or minors.
It is very strong to think that traffickers are not only organized criminals. They can also be partners, employees, or even family members.
The consequences are devastating: physical harm, sexual transmitted disease, to serve psychological trauma, anxiety, depression, and loss of access to education.
And not only that, many victims carry social stigma that prevent them from entering into society. This program perpetuates the cycle of poverty and inequality.
Personally, I'm outraged that this is still happening in 2035. It is not a problem in other countries. It's happening here in our streets, in our schools, in our communities.
I agree. I think indifference is also part of this problem. Society many times prefers not to see, not to speak, and not to act. That makes us accomplices.
We have to talk about this, even if it hurts. Because if we want, if we don't, no one will do it. Children cannot give their consent to be exploited.
So, what can we do?
First, educate ourselves and educate others. Know what sign to watch for. Second, report it in Mexico. There is the 805,033,000 line of the Citizens Council to report case of trafficking.
We also need the government to reinforce surveillance on social networks, provide clear education to minors in vulnerable situations, and firmly punish those responsible.
Okay. As students, we can campaign in our school, inform our classmates, our peers, and raise our voice. Because every child has the right to live free and safe and with dignity.
Thank you for listening to this second episode of 11 Minutes podcast. Don't forget to share this episode and follow us for more human rights content.
Okay, and remember, a child is not for sale, or he or she is cared for, protect, and respect.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hola, Mr. Chicken, ¿cómo estás? Bien, Gael, ¿y tú? Yo bien, Mr. Chicken. Ay.
Ya no vi qué pasó.
Bueno, pues. Cuidando.
¿Qué estás diciendo? ¿Y qué es eso?
Leo.